Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Chelsea comforts devastated Daniel, Adam jealous over new romance. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers reveal that Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziadei, has some heartbreak headed his way. During the week of September 30 October 4, Daniel will be unsettled over a text that suggests Heather Stevens, Vale Bloom, is leaving town for a while. Of course that'll actually be Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, posing as Heather to buy a little more time before the cops come knocking. Sharon has been seen publicly harassing Heather and her family, so she wants to delay the investigation as long as she can. Daniel will hope that Heather just needs a little break and she'll indeed reach out in a few days like the text promised. However, Daniel will face some crushing news by midweek, so what exactly will he learn? It's possible Sharon will send another text from Heather where she officially breaks up with Daniel. Heather might push him to take care of Lucy Romalotti, Lily Brooks O'Brien, while she's off finding herself or something along those lines. It's also possible Heather's body will wash up if Y&R wants to go ahead and move this storyline along. Regardless, Daniel has some major struggles in his future. Daniel will have a hard time adjusting to his new reality, so he may need someone to lean on. Meanwhile, Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, will once again push Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, away in the coming episodes, but she could still use some comfort of her own. There was a time when it looked like Y&R might pair Chelsea and Daniel up, but their chemistry test never went anywhere. What if this is finally Daniel and Chelsea's time to shine? If Daniel thinks Heather has left him, it may not be long until he seeks comfort in Chelsea's bed. Even if Daniel finds out Heather is deceased, there will be the possibility of some grief passion sooner rather than later. Chelsea will be running from her feelings for Adam and upset over Billy Abbott's, Jason Thompson, growing bond with Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, so maybe she could connect with Daniel as they try to cope. Will Adam end up jealous over Chelsea and Daniel's new chance at romance? Could Daniel and Chelsea become an actual couple down the road? Our predictions point to some romantic shakeups happening in Genoa City over the next few weeks, so we'll bring you updates on any surprises. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Daniel and Chelsea could at least provide some mutual comfort, so stay tuned for Adam's potential reaction. In the dimly lit penthouse overlooking the Genoa City skyline, Chelsea Lawson sat at her kitchen counter, staring into the bottom of her untouched cup of coffee. The tension in her shoulders felt like it had been there for weeks. Life had a funny way of turning upside down when you least expected it, and lately everything seemed to be spinning out of control. But this morning, her thoughts weren't focused on her own troubles. No, Chelsea had one person on her mind, Daniel Romalotti. Chelsea had heard about what had happened between Daniel and Lily. Their relationship, once the talk of the town for its sweetness and hope, had come to a heartbreaking end. It wasn't hard for her to imagine the devastation Daniel must be feeling. She knew the ache of loss all too well and could sense when someone else was walking down that painful path. Chelsea had been thinking of him a lot recently, wondering if anyone had truly reached out to him. Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the counter, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Daniel. He wanted to talk, and something in the tone of his message told her this wasn't just a casual chat. It felt urgent, like a cry for help masked behind simple words. Without hesitation, Chelsea grabbed her keys and jacket, making her way over to Daniel's apartment. The streets of Genoa City were quiet this early in the morning, which allowed her a moment to reflect. As she parked in front of Daniel's building, a familiar face flashed through her mind. Adam Newman. Adam and Daniel never got along, and lately Chelsea sensed a subtle undercurrent of jealousy in Adam. But why? Adam had always been possessive, especially when it came to people he cared about, and Chelsea's growing concern for Daniel might just be lighting that jealous fire. When Chelsea knocked on Daniel's door, she was greeted by a hollow silence. Moments later, the door creaked open, revealing a disheveled Daniel. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair a mess, and the weight of his heartbreak was all too visible in the way he slumped against the doorframe. "Chelsea," he said quietly, stepping aside to let her in. She offered a soft smile, stepping inside the dim apartment. It felt cold, lifeless. The vibrant energy Daniel usually radiated was gone, replaced by a thick cloud of sorrow. "I heard about Lily," Chelsea began, her voice gentle but firm. "I'm so sorry, Daniel." Daniel ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply as he sat down on the couch. He looked at her, his expression weary. "Yeah, it's been rough. I didn't expect it to hit me this hard." Chelsea moved closer, sitting beside him, her hand resting lightly on his knee. "You don't have to go through this alone, you know. I'm here." For a moment, the silence in the room seemed to stretch endlessly. Chelsea could feel the heaviness of Daniel's emotions, the crushing weight of his broken heart. Finally, he spoke again, his voice cracking slightly. "I really thought Lily and I were going to make it. After everything we went through, after everything I gave up for us. And now it's just gone. Just like that." Chelsea nodded, understanding that deep well of hurt. She knew what it felt like to believe in someone, only for it to fall apart in your hands. "Sometimes when things fall apart, it feels like the end," she whispered, her eyes locking onto his. "But it's not. It's just the beginning of something new, even if we can't see it right now." Daniel sighed, his fingers playing with the hem of his shirt as he avoided eye contact. "It's hard to see any light in this darkness." Before Chelsea could offer more comfort, a sharp knock sounded at the door, startling both of them. Daniel frowned, clearly not expecting anyone. Chelsea, too, felt a pang of curiosity, but stayed silent as Daniel got up to answer. When the door swung open, there stood Adam Newman with a storm in his eyes. His gaze immediately darted to Chelsea, sitting on the couch beside Daniel. A tight smirk twisted his lips, but the tension in his body betrayed his true feelings. "Adam," Daniel said, his tone flat. "What are you doing here?" Adam crossed his arms, stepping into the room with his usual confidence, though there was an unmistakable edge to his demeanor. "I came to check on you," he said, his eyes narrowing at Daniel. Then flicking back to Chelsea. "I didn't expect you to have company." Chelsea stood up, sensing the sudden shift in the atmosphere. "I was just here to offer some support," she said calmly, meeting Adam's gaze head-on. "Daniel's going through a rough time and he needed a friend." Adam's jaw clenched. "And you thought you'd be the one to comfort him." Chelsea's eyes flared with irritation. "I care about Daniel. He's my friend, and I'm not going to apologize for that." Daniel, who had been watching the exchange silently, finally spoke up. "Look, Adam, if you're here to pick a fight, this isn't the time. I'm not in the mood." Adam let out a sharp breath, visibly trying to reel in his emotions. "I'm not picking a fight," he muttered, though the tension in his voice said otherwise. I know what it's like to feel like everything's falling apart." There was a pause, the weight of Adam's words settling in the room. Chelsea studied him, sensing that Adam's anger wasn't really about her being there for Daniel. It was about something deeper. She had seen this side of Adam before, the side that lashed out when he was afraid of losing something or someone. "Daniel's going through enough right now without adding any more drama," Chelsea said softly, trying to diffuse the situation. "We all know what it's like to be hurt. Let's not make this about anything else." Adam looked at Chelsea, then Daniel, his expression softening ever so slightly. "You're right," he admitted reluctantly. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean to come in here and cause more problems." Daniel nodded, though the air between them still felt thick with unresolved tension. "It's fine, Adam. I appreciate you checking on me. But right now, I just need space to figure things out." Adam's eyes flickered toward Chelsea one last time before he nodded. "All right," he said quietly, turning to leave. "Take care, Daniel." As the door clicked shut behind him, Chelsea let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She turned back to Daniel, who looked equally relieved. "That was intense," Daniel said with a small, wry smile. Chelsea chuckled softly. "Yeah, Adam has a way of making things complicated." But as she sat back down beside him, her hand reaching out to take his once more, Chelsea couldn't help but wonder if Adam's jealousy was only the beginning of something far more complicated, something that could shake all their lives in ways none of them were prepared for.